Hi guys, this is just something I wanted to talk about that really pissed me off, right? So, I talk about rugby and I talk about mental health as two kind of separate things most of the time, but I'm going to kind of join the two together because this is pathetic. So, Ireland have talked about not having enough depth in rugby, right? And they keep saying it, they keep shouting on about it. You hear all the commentators saying we don't have the depth, we don't have the player pool. And the lads that I coach out in college, I'm representing them there. It's got a lovely gilet from them, they've been really good to me. Um, We've got some really good athletes. Now, we play Gaelic football and then soccer mostly and a bit of hurling. We've got some really good players and we've got lads who've represented Dublin. No representatives in rugby, sadly, which we're hoping to change, but this story is just going to make it fucking more difficult because our junior team were in the league there, right? And so they're with thirds and seconds teams like mixed together from Blackrock and St Michael's, and then you had St David's from Greystones. Now we beat Blackrock 29-14. They're thirds, and obviously we wouldn't be able to compete with their junior cup team. And then, that's because they've got the best of the best facilities and they breed rugby well. They do, yeah. Look, no denying that they do. They're on a different level, but that's because they have the resources and the player pool to do it. I think Michael's have something like 19 different teams. Like, so how do you compete with that? Well, hard work, dedication. No, but you also need a good attitude from the lads. You also need to be backed by your coaches, and this shit was ridiculous. So we played Blackrock, beat them 29-14. Had a blip against St David's, lost to them narrowly because we didn't take our chances, but then we got a win against St Gerard's from Bray, who are also a private school and quite a big private school as well, quite good. I remember playing them and they were always quite decent. It's not their firsts now. I played their firsts before and a hell of a lot better than their seconds and thirds, let me tell you. But you've got so many players to choose from these schools, and we beat them 33-0, but kept them out. And we were due to play St Michael's, who are top of the league. They've won all three games and they're the only team to do that. We're due to play them yesterday, and then that would have gotten us into a semi-final, because I think it's like an automatic qualification for a semi-final or something, based on the short number of players. But not only did they not contact us and we had to contact them and get in touch with them the whole time, so we were doing all the talking. They took ages to respond and confirm a date when they wanted to play and made it very difficult, as did Blackrock, I might add. St David's were very forthcoming, and we were able to actually communicate with them that they'd experienced similar treatment by these two schools. So basically what happened was there was a semi-final due to be played this weekend for both semi-finalists, and Blackrock and Michaels have basically put themselves in it, and this game has been waived. So this was a chance for us to make the semi-final on points, and we're not getting it, purely because they've decided, you know what, fuck it, we're going to make our own rules and you boys aren't in it now. The whole thing was, the fixtures were already set up before our final game was even played, which took fucking ages to arrange, I might add. And I'm absolutely gutted for the lads. It's disgusting, it's disgraceful, and Irish rugby's not growing because of that. There's a reason why, because there's so much bias going on. And if they don't change it, it's going to just keep getting worse. So I've very little sympathy for the national team and for Leinster and all when they're this biased. It's disgraceful. Shouldn't have happened, and it's fucking disgusting. I'm absolutely devastated for the lads. Like, I'm gutted for them. Can't even explain how gutted I am. They were all raring to go, and literally on Wednesday I was at training with them, was having a good laugh with them. It was a beautiful day, the sun was shining. We went in, watched a team review video, because this was a big game against St Michael's, and they're a feeder school for Leinster practically. That they produce so many Leinster players every year, without fail. And just make sure they don't bump into the car. She did her best, in fairness. So you get some dickhead bumps into the car and you're like, you could have easily avoided that, and then you end up having an argument and you're like, oh, another prick. But she did her best. But yeah, how are they going to encourage people to keep playing rugby? I was going to make this a short video, but I feel like it warrants a bit more discussion. You want to say that we don't have the players, we don't have the player pool. Well, what lads are going to want to keep playing when they're basically just cheated out of it? There's still a fixture left to go, and that fixture will determine whether we make the semi-finals or not. And we were told literally that you can play the game if you want, but it has no bearing on the semi-final. So we're like, well, fuck that, that's a waste of our time. And we're going to report it, obviously, to the Leinster Branch. Whether anything gets done about it, I don't know, because they seem to make their own rules. And like back when we played Columbus College in rugby, every fixture they had was a home fixture. you know, and they made it very difficult for us. Very difficult. I just thought to myself, they weren't very forthcoming. The weather was terrible on the day, and if the game got cancelled, we later found out, and here's where the lack of communication comes from. We found out that, in fact, we could have rescheduled the game, but everyone had told us that if the game was called off, that was it, you know, that the fixture to be decided, and if you didn't play your fixture, both teams would get disqualified for not fielding a team for the game. So we played our game literally the day before the fixture list was made. And this was last year, like, a terrible day. Like, it was freezing, the wind was howling, it was lashing it down like it is today. And I have to fucking go drill holes in the wall and hang up a new door. Fucking worst day forward. I've been very busy the other days, and I started cutting the grass yesterday. It was lovely. But I've only gotten all my supplies for today, and I've only got the drill till tomorrow. So we'll see. But, yeah, look, it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, like, we say we don't have the player pool. These schools are so well resourced. Like, the private school system in Dublin is light years ahead of the public school system. I mean, you've got a few schools that compete well enough, but I think Blackrock have something like 71 senior cup titles, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of Irish internationals have played for them. Belvedere, Clongowes, St Michael's. It's always the same schools pretty much, you know. And if you don't want to change that and you want to keep everything the way it is, you're not going to improve the national team. You're not going to improve Leinster, and as a result, less and less young fellas are going to want to stay involved. I didn't want to stay involved because I saw how biased the system was, you know. And like, whatever about me, you know. I stopped enjoying rugby ages ago. I'm coming out of retirement at the weekend. I'm looking forward to it, really am. And Sunday, I'll be playing with the Gory lads, and can't wait for it. How long I last now, we'll see. But yeah, I really stopped enjoying it because there's the amount of cheating that goes on at underage level. You know, and these lads are, you know, 13 to 15. They're very young. And you just fail for them. You're like, this is fucking pathetic. This is disgraceful shit going on here. So not only do the other teams have much better resources than you to begin with, but when you actually start competing with them, they do everything in their power to make sure you don't advance any further. And that's the reality of it. It really is. And there's not enough people calling it out because they're afraid of losing their position of power or whatever. And that's the problem in Irish rugby. Everyone's afraid to offend anyone. This is a school that has really put a lot of emphasis on rugby, and we've been shown nothing but contempt by the top fee-paying schools in, like, junior and senior cup level. Just showing us no respect whatsoever, and it's not on. I fucking hate that shit. You know, I've been shown it at club rugby as well, being cheated out of games where we were told we'd ineligible players even though we checked, double checked, triple checked, and they just don't want to listen. They don't care. They make the rules to suit themselves, the Leinster Branch and whatever. If you've got coaches in the know-how, you know how to cheat the system. And look, I see a lot of drop-off, a lot of lads not wanting to play, and clearly it's not benefiting Irish rugby because the under-20s finished bottom of the Six Nations. Clearly we're doing something wrong. It's not right at all how this was handled. You play your games, you've got your fixtures, both teams communicate back and forth, which is not the case. And just to let you know, because with St Michael's, their coach didn't get back to us for 3 weeks or so, even though we had a fixture coming up very soon. You know, it was due to be played yesterday, but obviously didn't happen. With Columbus College, when we played them, their coach was on to us every 2 seconds, even, you know, contacting one of our, like, so a lad that teaches in the school, Outlands College. He teaches and coaches. It just shows you the luxury that these big private schools have, where they literally have a rugby coach and that's all they do. So all their job is to do rugby. They don't have to teach on top of that. These schools have the luxury of doing that. We don't. So we're doing off our own back, really. And yeah, hounding us, trying to get us to sort of fixture out when they weren't very accommodating for us, you know. Because usually, like, if you need to reschedule a fixture, we're like, there's young lads playing rugby, we're here to coach it. So yeah, whenever you can play, whatever suits both teams, perfect. So we do that, and then we assume that if we've done it for one school, they'll do it for us. Sadly, not the fucking case. You know, it's pathetic stuff. Trying to get little advantages here. It's like, oh, we're not changing, the date was this day, and And I always remember before as well, even if we didn't have the strongest team, we have had a weak team or only 14 players, we'd always field the team so we could play a game. All these other schools don't. You know, if they've about 14, 13 lads, they won't field the team, or even just 50. Because they don't want to lose. They hate losing above all. It's a real arrogance thing, you know. If we don't have the strongest team and we know we're going to beat you guys, well, then we're not showing up because, you know, we're winners. We deserve to win. You just get a horrible atmosphere. And it's not the reason why I played rugby. It's not the reason anyone does. It's adults acting like children. You know, it's fucking pathetic. I hate this shit. And I just thought I'd come on and rant about it because, I don't know, like, I hated that stuff when I was playing. I hoped it was changing, but it clearly hasn't. If anything, I think it's gotten worse. So, yeah.